Nebraska State Patrol says a man is dead after a brief overnight pursuit. It started in southwest Omaha and ended just off I-80 in northwest Omaha.
Yes, you can see the video behind us. Meantime, our Dave Zavolinsky is at the alert desk with what we know about this case right now. Dave.
Jacqueline and Aaron, a trooper pulled over a Ford pickup truck on I-80 westbound near 96th Street and noticed the driver appeared impaired, and then they saw open containers inside his truck. The driver sped off, leading to a brief pursuit north on I-680, with the Omaha Police helicopter tracking the truck from the air as well. Another trooper managed to blow out the tires. Then as the truck passed Blair High Road, the driver started firing a gun outside the driver's side window and drove down an embankment, crashing into a tree right in the backyard of a home near 88th and Sunrise Streets. Our photographer could only get video from the front of the house, the scene though behind the house. There were several attempts to communicate with the driver, who was motionless inside the truck. An Omaha Police K-9 eventually approached the pickup, and officers found the driver with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was rushed to the hospital but died a short time later. A rifle was found inside his truck. The driver's name will be released only after the family is notified. The State Patrol says no troopers or other officers fired shots at any point during the pursuit. The incident does remain under investigation with the assistance from the Douglas County Sheriff's Office and Omaha Police. Reporting from the alert desk, I'm Dave Zavolinsky.
Gosh, Dave, there's a lot to that story. Thanks for breaking